Too long not being on the show, right? Too
For
long
yeah,
not being on the show.
yes. Blame Ashok for it. Blame Ashok for it. Good evening, Singapore.
Good evening, Malaysia. We are back. Just the two of us. We got rid of the guy.
Oh no, there's no way we're getting rid of my
No, 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 no,
favorite
no,
girl,
no.
Ashok.
No,
I
he will come back lah.
yeah, I know you. So now he got us addicted to him, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's another reason, but I won't go into it. He's my source of information on certain things that has nothing to do with work. Okay, all
Oh,
guilty pleasures. Okay, but we'll leave it at
now
that.
that's sounding very wrong, but never mind.
No, 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 no. Yeah. It can sound very wrong. Only if your brain goes in a certain way, okay? All right. And looks like it is going in a certain way, okay? Please, you're both very good people, okay? Very nice.
Oh, you
How are
mean
you?
you and Go Ashok, is it?
Yes, me and Ashok. Yeah.
Okay,
How are you?
I am actually quite happy today because, as you saw today morning, I actually published my long-awaited article on complaints, which I have been holding on to because I don't know, it was a funny thing. I wrote it, I wrote it, but I didn't have the heart to post it. So this is my list, year-end closure list. I'm finishing up all my unfinished work, and I thought we have Farooq today, and what a wonderful time to actually post it. So thank you to Farooq. I actually found, I think the energy, the courage to actually post it because I thought what the heck, yeah.
Yep, I know you wrote it quite a while ago.
Yeah, and
I
I
saw
was
it the
like,
first time.
one post, yeah. So I
Yeah, there you
posted
go.
today, and it's not so bad. Now, why? Of
Mm,
course, we have Farop Sharif today, and I've
yep.
known Farop, God knows how long, lama lah tu kan. But as long as I know Farop, I'll tell you how Farop inspires me. So, of course, he's always been the head of customer service in his previous organization, whom
Yeah, first
where I
in banking and then
insurance,
insurance, right? Mm,
insurance, and
mm.
insurance, and of course, he's one of what you will call your difficult customer. Why?
Ah,
Because he's very clear and he's got exceptionally high standard for his people. And because he has got high standard for his people, then what happens is that when you do training, he's also very specific, a dreamer, a visionary. So usually when we do training, we're supposed to inspire people, right? I mean, at least that's what I think I do. But every time I speak to Farooq, I'm very, very inspired about the aspiration Farooq has for service and the clarity in which Farooq speaks. And that's really why, we're very, very lucky. Of course, today, he is with another very big growing organization, Touch and Go, right?
yep.
And so we are really, really, but I won't say I'm happy, but I'm very grateful because Farooq doesn't usually say yes to speaking engagements. So yes,
Mm.
happy to have Farooq, and let's bring Farooq on. And all our listeners who are joining in, or people who are watching us, you will know by actually halfway through the show why I am right. Okay, so let's welcome Farop Sharif. Hi, Farop. Okay, you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Hi,
No
Hi.
Farop.
worries.
Hello. Hello, Mala. Hello, Sham. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. Very good.
Hello.
Good to see you again, Farooq.
Likewise, I can't say otherwise. I'm very happy to speak to you again, Sham.
Yeah,
Nice.
very good.
Mala.
We also, I just wanted to say hello to the people who have joined us. After some we can't see, some we can hear through the comments. So Sandeep Kulkarni, hello again. Good to see you on our show. And Major Dr. Prabhakaran, hello. Good evening. And never mind, we'll never go. I'll talk about Major later. Huh? Okay, I'll tell Malar about it. Let's talk about what Farooq has got in store for
Oh,
us in terms
do
of
you have
customer
history with
experience.
Major also?
Yeah. Okay, never
Okay.
mind. Focus,
That's another one.
focus,
Let's go now, Major, but let's
focus.
focus on Farooq. Now, before we start, I actually have a question for Farooq.
You actually have a question. We have many questions for Farooq. You have the first
This
question for
Great
Farooq.
question
question. Great question.
may not very. So it's very interesting what we have called our topic today, hybrid service experience, right? And that came out from our initial, conversation based on how you actually inspired us to say, oh, okay, actually what Farop is talking about is really whatever people call as new normal, or all the transition that has taken place, right? Now tell us first and foremost your role, right? What's your title? You have an interesting title, isn't it?
Yes, I do, and Manga, and I think it's a little bit, and even for me, right, you know how creative I can be, right? And I find it's what do you call it? Exceptionally creative, and it's actually inspired by my boss. So my title is the Chief User Experience Officer for the company. So why user experience is not customer experience is because we serve majority of our clients, or almost all our clients are road users, right? Mobility, so in the mobility business. So instead of calling customer experience, we're calling it user experience, because we want to be able to, to understand their journey as a client, and hence why it become a user experience, just customer experience. The word customer is very specific. The word user is very specific. We are targeting, and we want to give them the experience that they deserve as road users, as transit users, as parking users, or now the wallet users and whatnot. Yeah. So hence,
Nice.
there's long story to it, but that's a shorter version for you, Mala.
Okay. Long story, we do podcast, okay? Because you said you're going to say yes to me, so I'm going to say, okay, he's going to say, Farop is going to do a podcast with me. Okay, great. So Farop, thank you very much for first joining us. And Sham is like, okay, I'm going to throw the first question. Okay, you can have Farop now.
Yeah, she just bombshells like this, okay? Very funny.
Exactly.
Okay. So I have not worked with Farop in a training environment, right? This is my second meeting with you, and I agree with Malar that you're very, very clear about one, your role, and number two, the space called user experience. Your clarity around what user experience is it's remarkable. The clarity just shines through, right? But for many of us, I think it may not be so clear what is the difference between what you used to say as customer service versus customer experience, or customer service and user experience. So perhaps you could help us with that. Help share, how do we differentiate in our heads? How do we differentiate between these two terms, which seem similar to us?
Yeah, not just to you, Sham. I think everybody get confused, right? So even in my current role, everybody would say, "Oh, user experience, customer experience, however you want to term it." There's customer service, and I always tell them, "No, we are not customer service. We are beyond customer service, right?" So maybe I give you a very good example. Many years ago, so I used to work in a bank, right? And I'm very intrigued with the way how the bank operates, and the bank put customer at the center and front and center of everything that we do. And in simplest terms, so we have ATM machines. So our ATM machines, there's normal ATM machine, there's our ATM machine. So we like to differentiate, right? So our ATM machine is experience driven. It is not meant for you to. So usually you do ATM, you just put your ATM cards and then you get your money out. That's it, right? But where customer experience come into play is when we think about where do you put that ATM machine and where the lighting is, because the ATM machine would have a screen, right? So when you have a screen, if your lighting is just above you, you won't be able to see the screen, right? Or the height of the ATM machine, right? So if the ATM machine is for 6-footer, it'll be different than an average Malaysian of say 5.58 or 5.7. So we have to measure it accordingly, right? So we can't be, just say that, oh, okay, there's an ATM machine, however it is. So it's just like, plug and play. So just use it. But the experience will tell us where we put the machine, right? Or how the machine is designed, the lightings, the height of the machines, and all that is actually customer experience. So it's actually a very simple term, or it's a very simple thing, but many of us overlook, right? So for us, there's a ATM machine, go and withdraw money. But for me, it is the experience that you had as you enter the banking lobby. And as you enter the banking lobby, where's the location of the machine? Is it easy for you to press your PIN number, and is it something that you would look forward to doing it again? So if you did come and you say, okay, I'm not going to come to this bank anymore, then we fail, although it's just a service. So for me, service is for you to get something, but experience is you wow with the service. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's what service experience or customer experience is all about.
Okay, this could come across wrongly. Okay, I'm gonna try it anyway, and so I'm flagging you about it, right? But in some instances, one might argue that customer user experience is why bother, right? Why bother?
Yeah.
Because it's a given we have to use the product. So I might stretch it a little bit and say, in the case of Touch and Go, it's a given you have to. No one in Malaysia can exist without a Touch and Go card.
Okay.
It's a generalization. Okay. Generally, most people in Malaysia may not be able to get. You go for the tolls. You want to pay for some. It's become part of. Let's say this is what I need to have in my wallet, right? So if that's the case, then why do we bother with the experience? If we just focus on the service and making sure that our service is good, isn't that sufficient? So how do you think about moving from, so I'm seeing it as service is here, and then customer experience, user experience is kind of like higher, right? So isn't this enough? Why do we need to go there? Yeah.
Well, maybe I give you a different perspective, Sham. Maybe a perspective from, say, Disneyland. Right, so we pay Disneyland a few hundred ringgit just for the ticket, right? And or a few thousand ringgit if you want a whole day tickets. But the way they design it, so again, you go for a ride. So what is so different about going for a ride? You just queue, right? And after you queue, you get your ride and you're done. However, it is designed as such where, as you enter Disneyland, for example, and I always like to use this example because they have done enough study and research to be able to inspire others so that we can do better in the area that we are doing, right? So as you enter, they know already, so what kind of person you are. So if you're already purchasing it and you get your, say, barcode, so you don't have to queue anymore. So you just scan your code, you just enter, or you go and queue. So depending on who you are, so the persona that you have as a client, determine the kind of service that you'll get. So as you enter, the experience is that they have different flowers. If you notice, I'm not sure whether you notice, or you have come across Disneyland, different flowers as you enter and different flowers as you exit. And so they will then design it as such that you don't have to think, right? So you just need to go in and look at the signboard and decide what you want to do. But before even you go to the ride, right? So they will tell you in advance, you can plan ahead. So as you enter, you know already, oh, actually, this is what I want to do. So left, right, center, and whatever not, right? And they also think about now, if you are in the Four Seasons country during summer, it's very hot. So it's supposed to be the happiest place on earth, right? So that's their promise to the client. But you will see and you will realize it is not the happiest place. Even I went during so Mala's smiling already, right? So even I went during late or early spring in Hong Kong, for example, right? So I went once. It is so tiring. So I have to walk from one side to another side, right? So from the entrance to say my first ride or my second ride. So it's very tiring. So I have to walk. And sometimes you have something on your hand, for example. So you want to throw rubbish. And you know what? Every 20 steps, there's one dustbin. Rubbish bin is easily located. So you don't actually throw rubbish everywhere. And throughout my journey, there's always entertainment, right? So either I'm entertained on my journey to say ride A, I'm entertained by their janitor doing maybe the water making, right? So I was like, while walking to very far, I got entertained. And then I'm busy taking photos, and I thought, then somebody would come and approach me and say, would you like me to take your photos? And I said, who is this person? And it's a janitor. And they design it so that you don't feel you have to walk like half a kilometer just to go for your ride, right? So, and hence, when you're queuing, they will tell you what you need to, and the queue will tell you, okay, it will take you maybe half an hour. So you can mentally prepare that in half an hour, I'll take the ride. Or if I don't want to wait half an hour, can I do something else first? Right. So, and after I've taken the ride, I'll go out and I have fun throughout the day. I'm tired. I don't feel it because the journey that they have done is where I get distracted, if I can use the word distracted, right? So I'm tired, yes, but I don't feel tired. I feel excited. I feel energized. And I look forward to, say, at the end of, say, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, right? So they say, oh, please queue at the main road, and I'll be able to see all the cars waving at you and dancing and singing and whatnot. And as they bid you goodbye, so as you walk out, the music is slightly different, and then you see all. Then you go back to your room and you feel satisfied. So now, as opposed to some of the theme park that I've went to, where it's just a theme park, again, it's a ride, Sham, as you likely pointed out, right? So what is so different about a ride? But I don't look forward to the other ride. I look forward and paying 1,000 of ringgit to Disneyland because the experience that they have given me, and I thought, my goodness, and before that, right, I'm thinking, do I need to pay that 1,000 ringgit? Or I just, don't pay the whole experience, just pay. I went to Disneyland Paris before that, and so I pay based on certain thing that I want to do. But no, I decided, no, I'll pay the full price. It's okay that I don't complete the whole ride or whatever else, but no, I will pay because I feel like I'm paying for the whole experience that I have had before. And I look forward from one side to another side to another side, and a different story, different experience, but it's all consistent. It's high standards. And it is designed with you in mind. It is not about what the company want you to feel. It's about you, right? It's about who you are and how you will be happy, right? So if you are a single person, then you would have someone who will take a photo for you. If you come as a family, then there's place for you to sit because you'll be tiring with your children around. So that's how experience is. And that's why is it so important. Right. And why I use Disneyland, Sham, you must be thinking, right? Ask another question, I jawab another question. No, I'm telling you this because when you think about Disneyland and you think about it's supposed to be the happiest place on earth, do you think it's easy to make people happy and want to come back when it's hot, when it's huge, when there's so many people? And today, where you want to go and there is restriction, right? Because COVID and whatnot, so you cannot have that crowd and etc. etc. So you do not want people to go back and say, this is going to be the last time I'm going to come to Disneyland. But in many of my experience, I am so looking forward to, and I'm not just so looking forward to, I plan for it. And, whenever I go, like, for example, I'm planning one in December. So I'm thinking, should I go to Disneyland Paris and see, and enjoy one day in Disneyland Paris. So I'm thinking about it, right? Yeah, so that's what experience does. It's not because you have to, if I can put it simply, it's because you want to. Whether you have to do it or not, that's secondary when it comes to experience. It's about you want to do it or you want to use it. You want to use our service. So
that's a brilliant summary. Not because you have to, but you want to do it.
Yes,
and I think
correct.
that makes a very clear distinction between, and not clear distinction, it makes a clear differentiator between the service and then the experience. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Malir, you go next.
So actually, what you really helped me, get the clarity, right? Because, I was thinking as Farop was explaining about service and an experience, right? It's like, literally like ready-made clothes and tailored clothes, which is designed for you, because a user experience or a service experience, right, is whoever the customer is, that when you're feeling happy, being served in a way that is comfortable for you, that makes you feel included in the process, even though you're buying a ready-made, you feel that it's actually tailored for you, right? So what organizations seem to be doing is what I'm getting from Farop is that what organizations seem to be doing is that, you could be an organization and say, you know what, this is the service that we give you, all right? One size fit all. If it can't fit you, you make your own adjustments. Make yourself, right? Whereas service experience or user experience, we are taking every user into consideration and saying and making them feel like when we designed this, we had you in mind because you're important, right? I think that, and organizations that are able to make you feel like every design is inclusive of me. That means even though I'm buying a ready-made, right, it makes me feel that it's tailored for me. Now, this is where I'm actually going to just keep coming to you because, I don't need to check out your competitor, right? Because I don't have to make adjustments. You've already got something that is so customized for me. So I just love that it's designed with you in mind. Now, having said that, right, Farop, when we look at businesses, most businesses, I would say, if not all businesses, we start because we see there is a need in the market, whether it's a product or a service used interchangeably, right? Now, and a lot of times I find that sometimes we can lose focus, right? And especially in a service-oriented business where there's no tangible product, right? Yeah, I've seen organization being very sales-focused, and then they miss out on the service. They become service-focused, and then they miss out on the sales. It seems to be an either-or thing, right? Now, if in your experience, when does service drive business, or is it the other way? The business is driving the service. Are we, focused on service because it's going to bring in sales, or are we focused on sales and because we're selling, service is inevitable? Your
Right.
thoughts?
I must say it's a tough one, Mala.
Or
Because
if
it's like
you
chicken
say
before
stop,
egg or egg before
no,
chicken,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
you
chicken,
say
right?
stop, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, right. Okay, but you say if you are on a serious note, right? So if you see about if you talk about uh, sales or service, right? So you will think about the traditional way of how service is defined. So the life cycle, right? So there's a pre-sales, there's sales process, then there's post sales, there's service and whatnot, right? But in today's world, you cannot differentiate this anymore. You need service to drive sales, and you need sales to drive service because service will be very expensive without sales, and sales will be material if nobody wants to buy from you because you have a lousy service, right? So I guess in and in the bank, I like to use the bank as an example. Many years ago when I first started, they have clear distinction between sales and service. But when I left the organization about 7-8 years ago, 9 years ago maybe, there's no differentiation anymore. So as you are doing service, you are expected to cross sell, right? All right. So for example, Mala or Sham, if you are calling someone, or if you are at the counter, branch counter, they have served you and they will think about, oh, actually, now that you are traveling, right? The holiday season, would you like to buy travel insurance to protect you from the uncertainties, whatever. So is it a service or is it a sales? Because for me,
It's a
you
sales.
cannot, yeah, but it's in the service element, right? So they're asking you, oh, are you traveling? Now, why not you just buy? Because, you are here already in front of me. I'm telling you, you're traveling and, protect yourself against, for example, delay flights. Because usually if you're traveling to, say, Europe, for example, and there's in December, and there will always be delay in flight. So why not you protect yourself, and then suddenly you remember, and they say, oh, it's actually very cheap. At this, you can get one-time coverage. Or if you're traveling all the time, why not you buy an annual travel? An annual travel give you maybe 30% or 40% more cheaper. And then suddenly you remember, oh, I might as well buy. And then you just sign, and you end the conversation while you're getting service from the organization, right? So while the process is very driven, so you would have your what do you call it, service needs, then it gets solved, then there's this cross-selling and upselling, then there's objection handling, then you close the sales. So you would be able to achieve that without having to differentiate whether it's a sales or a service, but you make it the whole interaction as a journey for a client. So whether it's a sales journey or service journey, it doesn't matter anymore. It's a journey the client have to go through. likewise, on the other hand, so, I'm sure you've been approached many times by someone who say, would you like to buy this? And then you may want to tell that person, or you may have issue with the organization. You tell that person, actually, I have a problem. And my problem is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And that person has two choices, right? In the old days, you would tell, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not here to help you with your service. Could you call the call center or go to any of their branch? Or in today's world, they will tell you, let me help you. What would you like to know? So, example, you are locked out from your what do you call it, online banking or whatever portal, right? So you do not know how to do it. So nowadays, for salespeople, they are equipped with the basic knowledge on topic that they're supposed to be familiar with, on how to reset password, how to help client with registration and whatnot. That is not because it's their job to service a client, but in case somebody asks you, before you can even ask that person, Cham, would you like to buy A? That person already tell you, I have problem. Then you can solve that problem for that person and say, actually, it's very simple. You do 1, 2, 3. And then whenever you have done it, oh, now that you are okay, would you like to talk more about product A? And this product A is about that. So in either situation, either service come first or sales come first, you can't run away from the other. It is intertwined in today's world, right? Consumer nowadays, they are educated and they have demands, right? Or they have expectation and they want value for money. And value for money is not just driven, or it's not just defined based on dollar and cent that the product offer, but the experience overall, whether it's service, sales, after sales service, or attrition. Even as I'm leaving the company, or I'm no longer interested in the product, we want to make that journey as pleasant as possible, where then you will think about next time, if I want to buy that product, like for example, water filter and whatnot, I'll go to the same company. I won't go to another company, right? Because you have a good experience. And study shows that when you have a problem, you will likely continue with a brand rather than you don't have experience at all. Because if you don't have experience, there is no, you are not stick to a brand, right? So there's no stickiness. So you just say, okay, tomorrow another company give me 20% cheaper, I'll just move and move. But when I have a problem, my peace of mind is more important than dollar and cents that the brand offer. But the whole experience, and I know when there's a problem, this is a partner or this the trusted brand that I like to associate myself with. So hence, I thought it would be a little bit longer than what Marla would appreciate. So that answer is about chicken and egg. But I thought, in today's world, there's no chicken or egg. So in today's world, we need to provide both. Either service come first or sales come first. The other one will be complementary to the other one.
Yeah, that's so. What I'm getting from you, CCI, this is why I love talking to you. You see, when you talk about sales, I think people. So salespeople create awareness of a need, and they sell to you, right? But what we've also known is that we realize that sometimes that need is oversold. That means, salespeople are often known to oversell, right? And I'm disappointed. Perhaps it's true, perhaps it's just my perception. And very often the person who sort of reconciles it is usually the service person. Because the service person now, my job is, so the salesperson is focused on the numbers, whereas the service person now is focused on the happiness factor. I want my customer to be actually satisfied, because otherwise it leads to a lot more time invested in solving. So I think service started as a very logical process. But like what you said, what is really interesting is that when you are served well, when you're really listening to your customer, then what happens is the customer wants to talk to you, wants to tell you his or her problems, her expectation. So you become a data collection center now, because you now understand what sales would need to do a survey to do that, right? Now, and so while you say it's chicken and egg and stuff like that, I think, but the sad thing is that we often tend to look at service when the numbers are not looking good, right? Even though over and over again, right, it's been proven that when you serve customers well, your customer come back to you. But having said that, I think we always fall into the trap of separating them, because most companies still have sales department as a main department, and service department is usually a support department. So just our thinking has to shift if we are saying actually it's equal, isn't it?
You are right.
And-
You are right.
Mm.
Yeah, because if you look at many progressive organizations, right, that put customer at the center of everything that they do, what they will do is, or what they are doing is, where service is concerned, your service component of KPI is higher, but there's also sales KPI, and this is driven by value, right? So a value-based system. So they will teach you there's a sales value, there's also service value. You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be able to solve problem in order for you to be able to sell more to the client. At the same time, to provide solutions and speedy solution, accurate solution, and also at the same time, there will be measurement to that solution beyond the sales number itself. So in a service organization, or where I wouldn't want to call it service organization, where it's a customer-centric organization, if you want to put it that way instead, right? So in a customer-centric organization, this element of service and this element of sales, they come hand in hand. So there's always a sales number. Yeah, we can't live without sales, but there's also a service number. And if a company, like for example, recently I sent my car for servicing, and you know, when you send your car for servicing, they will tell you, okay, this one rosak lah, that one rosak lah, this one another 2,000, this one another 500, this one God knows what else, right? But I think which is important to the organization, right? Otherwise you won't survive. But at the same time, there will be a follow-up call from this company then to measure the satisfaction of your satisfaction. So as I enter the service center, they will tell me, what would you like to do today? So what are your main concerns? So I tell them, yeah, this, and then they will look at, they do the diagnosis, and they will come back, and then in the form itself, they will tell you, okay, your basic service is X, and your other non-basic services, like for example, my tires. And they say, actually your tire, you can still use it. There's still about 20% more before you need to change it. Would you like to change now? If you do, then this is what I'll do, right? And also your brake pad, right? So there's still another maybe 5-10%. Then I ask a question, would this 5-10% last me until my next what do you call it? My next service? And they say,
Service cycle.
okay,
Yeah.
right. You would say no, actually based on your driving pattern, it would not last you. Maybe you have to come again the next 2 months or 3 months. Then it allowed me to make a decision whether I want to change it or not. And then they'll say, upfront tell you, if you were to change it now, it will cost you 2,000 ringgit for the brake pad. Then I'm thinking that 2,000 where I can last another month and a half, or I want peace of mind and pay now. Then I tell them, okay, why not you do this? You do the brake pad first, and since you say the tire will be able to last me longer, then I have no problem. So number one, right? So the service is embedded into the sales component, and then at the bottom they ask, before I sign the forms, I have to then sign and agree that I want to do this, and they said, have we explained to you why you need to do what you need to do today in that sales acknowledgement, right? So which I think is very powerful. And as I've done everything, then they say, please remember to give us rating 5 when you get a call from us or SMS from us after this experience. So you imagine, so as I enter, it's supposed to be not a service thing, it's supposed to be a sales thing, right? But I was greeted with a lot of the service component embedded, intertwined into their sales process. And the salesperson will then be reminded that, hey, this is not sales process alone. I need to make sure that my clients are happy and understand, and understand what they are paying for. Instead, you know, when you go to any of these car service center, they just tell you, you don't need to know anything. You just agree or disagree. But when they explain to you, and you know, I will go back, because you know, all these car manufacturer, after the warranty, you won't go back to them because it's going to be very pricey. But with my experience, I rather pay the extra price because I know what I'm getting at. And you know, car is very, for me, it's mysterious. I don't know what's happening. So I do not want to be caught in a situation in the middle of the road doing nothing. But if they tell me now, in 20, your tire is 20%, can last you based on your pattern another 4 more months, then I say, okay, safe. But your pad, based on your driving pattern, will not last you 1.5 months. Would you like to change now or later? Or if later, then you need to do it. So I thought that's brilliant. And I wouldn't mind paying for that kind of service now, although I still have that 15%, right? Peace of mind, again, what I'm offering. So to have that short answer, right, Mala? So at the end of the day, it's all about the value that the organization is actually embedding into their employee program, right? So the value is I'm not just driving numbers, but I'm driving value for the customers. And that value for the customers include the number or the sales number.
I mean, exactly. Like you have just confirmed, because when I'm serving you, you see the example of the car that you gave, right? They're looking at your patterns, they're looking at your preferences. So this is where they are actually designing the service experience for you as a customer, right? As a user of the car, because your user experience is different and they're taking that into consideration when they're serving you. Now, that interaction, which we call service, whether they are listening to you, whether they're advising you, or they're just making you feel good, whatever they are doing, that you see as a customer, you see that as a value, right? And which is why, as a customer, I am now willing to pay extra, like what you said, because if I want to save on this money and I go to somebody else, I have to start this conversation all over again because I'm really known already, right? I mean, think about Apple users, right? iPhone users, right? The one way they hold you is that when you're changing a phone, if you want to change to a non-Apple phone, you know, the transition is so difficult. And because sometimes you don't want to transition with all the difficulty starting all over, what you do, you pay the extra, and the extra is pay extra. Yeah. Now, with that, still, Sandeep is saying, Cham, you're going next. Let me just read the comments. Sandeep saying, sales performance is measured by target, service is measured by CSI, customer delight and happiness. And I just want to add what Farop said. All of this is actually seen as value, which comes in the profits by your customers who return to you, right? And customers who don't complain and make your life miserable or write an article on LinkedIn. I will go, Ashok. Yes, he's here. Ashok says, you saw the excitement in Ashok. Are you excited?
No. He cannot run away from us.
It's so
He's
nice to
tied
see.
to us. Yeah. Okay.
He was dying to interview Farooq, okay? Customer acquisition is expensive, so customer user experience is important to retain the customer and provide additional valuable service or products. Of course, Ashok, I will agree with you. Yeah. Okay, Sham, you can ask.
Yeah, when he was talking about the car service, I could relate to it because I also don't know anything about cars. I know how to run it, all right, and I got it. The other analogy that came to mind, or the other example that came to mind, was when I go and see a doctor. Not for the normal, flu-y thingy, but when it's something serious. The experience that a doctor creates is a very important part of how your mindset in accepting a challenge or dealing with that challenge, right? Okay. So my question is this: I just want to go back a little bit and then recap, and then come back to the question that I have in mind. From your Disney example, the story that you shared with, about Disney, and then that chicken and egg, which is it service first and then business, or business first and then service? To me, if I were to put it in a summary or a nutshell, it seems to me that service is a subset of experience.
Yep.
Yeah, so service is a subset of experience, right? So experience is this overall big thing, right? And experience is about refocusing the energy of the user. As you said, for whatever it is, I'm upset or I'm like tired, and it's refocusing the energy to think about it from a different space. And it's also about a large component, or if not the biggest component, is about communication. It's about communicating with the user and making it what's not known to them, making them, from that total darkness become clear about what it is that's happening, or have a little bit more information to work with, right? What's been your experience working in this space? How has user experience changed, or customer experience changed during the pandemic? What has amped up, what has kind of reduced, or what kind of stayed the same? Yeah, what's been your experience in the last 2 years?
I moved from organization A to organization B during pandemic. I when pandemic happened, we have to rethink about how or what kind of service we want to offer to our client overall. Right? So naturally, our brick and mortar is no longer a strategy. So we have to think about, so how do I then provide service to the client? The processes that I had. So I was with an insurance company when that happened, and we thinking about, insurance is all about submitting documents, and our ability to provide service is always on a pretext where it will be served by agent. However, if you need service, you can either call us, or if you need any beyond service like submission of claim, just come to any of the branches and you will get service that you need. Non-existent during pandemic, right? So like any other organization, you can't travel during pandemic. Then this is when we need to educate consumer to say that, hey, can we use technology to provide that kind of service without compromising the control, without compromising the experience, or without compromising any of the processes and the policies, right? So we need to rewrite the processes and the policies during pandemic, and we need to invest, and a lot of investment is being done in the digital space, Sham. There are a lot of things in the past. I mean, personally, right? So we never signed document in the past in your PDF. Today, if you ask me to sign the document on a paper, and I say, well, you can't PDF me, is it? That you need to then sign and then send to the photocopier, and you are used to it, right? So don't send me a hard copy paper, send me PDF, and I'll fix my signature on your page. And these are quite normal in today's world. There's another way, another conversation that's happening in the service space is that in the past, and again, when I was with the bank tried to do video conferencing for customers. So instead of calling, we will also be able to offer you personal or advisory services on the phone, on the video, sorry, not on the phone, on the video. However, the acceptance is very low, and the acceptance is very low because back then video is not something that people used to, or technology is not something that. But today, and hence we are here today, right, Shah, Mala, I can see you and we can smile, we can talk to each other, chit chatting. It's no longer about video conferencing. It's about connecting with people, engagement, and it's just via video. So there's no big deal out of it. So I guess all this has allow consumer, right, to be educated, right, and also organization to realize that investment in this space is very much needed. They need to invest a lot more to make the experience pleasant. They need to invest more to have the most up-to-date technology to ensure security, yada yada, and the whole thing, right? So both, right, the organization now, if I compare myself 3 years ago, would have different interpretation of service and the investment needed for service. And for consumer end, it's not about I must be there and then scold someone. It's not that anymore, right? It's about, hey, I just need to be able to connect with someone and get my problem solved. And it can be done through all service channel. And if you see more and more acceptance of service by digital channel. And this is where then maybe 5 years ago, empowerment of consumer, very low. Right? So whether from the organization point of view or from this consumer point of view, if they need something, I just give them a call. But today, if you ask an organization to do that, or you ask consumer to do that, they will be very upset. The organization will be very upset. The customer will be very upset, right? So they want to be empowered to do what they want to do. Like, for example, a simple statement. I just need a statement. You do not need to send me a physical statement. I can go to the whatever and get it myself, right? Or just send me a notice and don't waste my time asking me to do open. So those are the changes that I think are small changes. So of course, there are many other examples that I can quote, but I thought the easiest example is where you get your service via email or logging in into a portal where you can download just a statement, a simple statement, and not just for the banking or telcos or any of the insurance company. But if you look at even some of the government agencies, stop sending you statement anymore. They send you the SMS and just tell you, why not you go to the portal and just download it? And I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think it's wonderful, right? And we not just save the environment, but we're empowering the consumer to take charge of what they want to, so that I don't have to now call you again to say, where's my statement? And I just need to now download it myself, and I can keep it electronically. And whenever I need one, I can just pull it and for income tax purpose and whatnot. So it's the ease of doing it. So education of consumer is lesser, But investment in this space is very much needed, because I think as we go along in post-pandemic, this would be an area where more and more investment needed, because consumer expectation would have now, from here, it become here now.
It's gone
So you
out
need to
here.
match
Yep.
here, right? So how do you
Yep.
do it if you stay status quo? So those are an exciting time, I think, for a lot of professional like me, where we think in the past we can't do it. Now today, the same thing that I thought 5 or 6 years ago couldn't, today it's like, a breeze, just a tap of finger and can be done.
Exactly. You needed a pandemic to get us to this level, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's a bit painful, a bit it's a bit like stupid, no? Yeah, needed something as bad as a pandemic to get us to this situation. And I'm so with you. I mean, I'm so with the PDFs. I just had a call and like, we're going to send you this form and you fill it out. So what do we need? Do you not have a PDF, right? That I can just electronically sign it or sign it and send it over. One.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have a follow. I have a follow-up question for Farop.
I have a follow-up question.
You go.
Okay. So the space that you were in is that one of the things that you have you rightly pointed out and you gave all the beautiful examples was how technology has made it different, has increased our expectations, right? And you also pointed out about how education is very important, because you want to be inclusive. There are people who may not have access to technology in order to be able to do that PDF bit, right? For example, or they may not know how to finagle, the app on a phone, for example. Right? You see, you've done that in Malaysia. You see that happening also in Singapore. Now, that's the technology part, right? And that's amped up people's expectation of what service experience they want, right? Now, if you flip it over, there's the digital part, there's also the people part. Now, what does that mean, or this transition or this changes, right? What does that mean to leaders, teams and organizations, given that digitally we have shifted? Okay, digitally we've shifted. So what's the impact to teams, to people, right? In organizations that are putting these changes in place? What does that mean to leaders and teams to follow, to match those changes?
Well, I guess what you are asking is the impact to the digital world, right? So as we are making digital accessible to everybody, and for me, digital is just an enabler, right? Enabler for us to provide an exceptional service, and basically, as a person or the service provider, right, it's no longer about us vetting through item or forms and whatnot. It's all about us providing advisory, right? In the past, it's processing, transactional. In the future or current, it's about providing advisory service. As leader or as a service provider or as organization, I think the ability of us to provide service to our client is now defined as being digital, right? So being digital is about us, our skill set would also need to be changed, because we can't expect to do vetting through documents or checking verification anymore, because it's all done digitally. So my role now, from providing a service based on inquiry, no longer in existence, or service request no longer in existence, because right in the call center, if I take a call center as an example, providing balance inquiry can now be done self-service through all the digital channel. So as a contact center professional, either as an agent or the supervisor or the data department, that service will be zero in the next couple of years, because everybody will do the self-service. So what will happen to the staff that we have? So they need to be upskilled to the next level, so that now they know, I have a problem, I call you, you solve my problem. So they become problem solver. They provide an advisory service. Like you go even for, again, I like to use my car as an example, right? So sometimes in the past I call, hey, what happened to my car? Why is it blinking? The answer they will give it to me, I can make an appointment for you and you can send your car for servicing. But today, if that happened, they will ask you, can you just tell me what is your light and what is the color and this? Oh, this is what you need to do. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, or if you're not comfortable, you can send your car. So sending your car is no longer an option anymore, but it solves your problem on the phone. And they will tell you now, is it okay? Now it's all right. Then you have, you can take your time and send your car for servicing next, right? So it's about you providing that advisory service or a peace of mind over the as part of the service anymore. It's not about you just being the person taking down the appointment anymore in the appointment card or sending the SMS. Yeah, so that's have changed. So that's how people the skill set would have to change as well, and the thinking of the leader in the industry need to also be changed, right? It's not about hiring people who can just pick up the phone, but it's about hiring people that can solve problem on the phone or in one contact, right? In just one contact, and empowering them and empowering both the consumer as well as the service professional to be able to solve a problem without having to go back and ask for approval back and forth anymore.
Yeah, so nice one, right? From tactical to the problem solver stroke advisor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Malar, over to you. I know you chomping at the bit. Chomp. You're muted, huh? Okay.
This is question. This is my observation. I need your input on this, right? I loved what you said about empowering customers. So during the pandemic, I think organization that could empower customers while using technology, they did. So they invested in technology, so it was easier for customers to also be empowered, right? Which is why, like what Charm said, now that you are empowered, you realize how life can be easy. You don't want to go back from a customer's point of view. Having said that, I'm wondering, and this is really wondering, right? During the pandemic, I think as customers, we learned a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance, a lot of empathy. So really, if we look at service experience during the pandemic, because it went from or having high expectations of service to having nothing, not being able to have transaction. So the little transaction that was allowed, you became grateful. If you think about it, right? So if in the past, the insurance company won't pick up my phone, I'll be so upset, right? During the pandemic, everything is closed. You become understanding. Oh, this is the state of life. And then when they pick up the phone, you are now grateful. My goodness, they picked up my phone. But what I am recognizing is this so-called post-pandemic or endemic or whatever we want to call it as new normal. The service, customers may be empowered. Customers may want new things. Our expectations, we are still a lot more tolerant because we've got used to tolerating low service or no service during pandemic, which was situational. So we've had a lot of practice, right? But it seems to me that organizations are hiking prices because now we are more empowered. You don't have to support us as much, right? Right? On one hand, you may have invested in technology. Prices are going up. One. Number two is, I'm wondering whether businesses are taking customers' empathy and understanding and tolerance, which has become a habit during the pandemic, for granted. I'm wondering, right? Because what I'm seeing in service experiences is, whether when you go to restaurants, they can just put up what you call it, a note to say we're short staff. You'll have to wait. You'll have to serve yourself. But our prices have increased. It's acceptable. When let's talk about offices, whether it's government or private, right? If I want an appointment, I need to go through the system. If I can't get through the system, it becomes my problem. I have nowhere to complain. Even if you look at the banking or telecommunication companies, right? When you call them, they have become less accessible. That is assuming the empowerment they gave us through technology, that it should work, but it's not working. I'm left totally helpless and disempowered, but I've learned patience. What do you think about that? I know it sounds like a rant, but yeah, tell me your experience.
It
Well,
doesn't sound
Mala,
like a rent. It's a rent. It's a part
yeah,
rent. Okay,
No,
yeah,
but tell me,
Understood now.
experience,
Yeah.
isn't this true
yeah.
for you? Because I'm watching, right? I'm just watching. The more customers have lowered their expectation, organizations seem to have lowered the expectations of themselves too. And I think that's sad.
I agree with you. But I think it's also an opportunity, right? So if you see it from that angle, that everybody lowered their expectation because for whatever reason that you have just mentioned. However, for me, it is an opportunity where I could uh, challenge myself to then say, now we have great reset, right? So we have reset everything back to say zero. Nobody is leader, nobody is liker. So what we can do is we can think about what we can do to impress a client moving forward, right?
Mm,
Because now the expectation is lower. It's easier for
Mm.
you to service a client and provide a better service for a client and vis-a-vis your competitor. So you can just immediately now tell, for example, and use this as an opportunity. For me, it's more of an opportunity for you to impress someone because pandemic have taught us many lessons, right? So we can use these lessons as an opportunity to get better, to see what is important in the space of customer experience. So what do you as a customer want? So now we are looking at, so for example, we look at persona of a client and it's no longer about one size fits all, right? To Mala or to Sham, just give them the same service. No, it's about understanding who Mala is and it's understanding about who Sham is and still give a personalized service, but not just personalized service, but it can be mass personalized service. So everybody can get that level of experience where we as an organization want to offer. But when you received it, Malami received it from, say, channel A, but Shami like channel B, but the experience
Mm.
consistent across. And I can then challenge it to the next level and say that I will do this for Sham and I will do this also for Mala. So it's about the organization understand the needs of the consumer differently and then they'll use the learning from the pandemic to improve it better because I don't think the consumer have lowered the expectation.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the expectation is still there, but they become more understanding that,
Correct.
yeah, they become more understanding. But the demand is, and then no, I don't think demand is the right word, right? Maybe the opportunity is that
Mm.
if I, as a service provider, can tap into this understanding that the consumer have been dealing with, I then become the clear winner. I don't need to fight with another provider to provide that kind of
Mm.
service anymore, or to offer that kind of service anymore. Now I up it a little bit. Consumer will all run to me now. So
Mm.
our survival in the future is very much depending on us being able to use the learning that we had the last 3 years, and trust me, the next 5 years will be a lot different than what it was before, right? And also at the same time, relearn about who our consumer are because they also resetting as a business. It's being reset as a consumer. We're also doing our own reset, right? So, and if you understand it and we make use of the take advantage of this opportunity, I think it's a matter of time that you or as a service organization we can come out as a winner, a clear winner. It's no longer about winning, it's about us being a clear winner.
Mm. Nice one, Farooq.
Yeah.
Sorry, Amala,
love
I have
it,
to
love
agree with
it.
Farooq.
I love
It's not lowering. It's we become more patient and tolerant. I think our patience,
Yes.
our muscles for patience and
Yep.
tolerance has just become very, very active and a lot more stronger. So spot on. I'm totally with you. And that wonderful reframe of opportunity was just brilliant. So if you take that one step further and look at, okay, so here's the opportunity, right? Then what then do you see the challenges that you foresee in 2023 and maybe even further down, 5 years down the road, right? What would be the challenges for organizations or in thinking customer user experience? What awaits us?
Maybe two things, Sham. Number one is as we become more digital, topic of
Mm,
security uh, has become more important. So how
mm,
secure, am I dealing with you as an organization over a digital channel? So the topic of security becoming, or privacy and all that, right? The same space will become more and more important. And number two, service is now a click of a mouse or a click of a button, where then now the focus for the organization is to upskill a service professional to be able to offer advisory service, problem solving, conflict resolutions, critical thinking, right? So if you look at the job description in the future or even current, it's no longer about your ability to speak or write anymore. Ability to speak or write has become a prerequisite.
Expected.
But
yep.
Yes, prerequisite. If not, then please don't even submit, right? Or now it's about you being able to provide solutions to a problem, conflict resolution. How do you handle critical thinking, problem solving, and how do I, as a service provider, upskill the workforce, or for the workforce to be able to upskill themselves, right, to meet the demand of the future client or the demand of the future service, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
I like how your answer bridged both the digital space and that security and privacy, and as well as the human space, right? The people space, what we need to do to build that. Very nicely said.
Yeah.
Malhar,
So maybe if
over
I
to
can
you.
add,
Sure.
maybe I can add one more, Sham. So while we are doing the problem solving, conflict resolution, we want to be able to do it with a heart, right? With a smile, right? So it's not about prerequisite. You must know how to smile on your on your face, right, or in your voice. It's about doing all the critical and difficult problem solving and whatnot while smiling and while being able to be polite, while being able to be courteous with common courtesy and whatnot. So how do you do it moving forward? So that's the biggest question that a lot of service professionals have to answer now and in the future.
Nice. Malhar?
No, as
Take
usual.
it home.
Yeah, taking it all in. But I really liked the fact that you brought two very important things going into the future: the sense of, how safe customers are going to feel, right, with the technology and the user experience. So first is do I feel safe? But while I'm focused on safety, we also need now more complex skills in helping customer resolve their issue, because the basic issues have already been resolved through empowerment and through the technological aid, I think. So moving forward as leaders, I think we need to start thinking, if your business is going to be service oriented, if you believe in it, if we say it is part of our business offering for us to sustain ourselves, then we need to start looking at the type of upskilling that is required in our talent, right? Whether it is in talent acquisition or talent development. So yeah, thank you very much for summing it up really well. As we first started, you helped us to really distinguish the difference. You helped us to really look at what really matters, right? In defining the service experience, designing it for our people, and how to empower it. We looked at the transition, and you actually gave us something to really think about. Customers are empowered today. With that empowerment, with the understanding, they're giving us some space to breathe. Can we use this opportunity to come out as a clear winner in the business instead of taking them for granted, right? Because it was so difficult to be a clear winner when business was competitive, right? But right now, customers are not breathing down your neck, so don't take them for granted. Use that empathy to, really use that experience well. And of course, finally, you looked at, the challenges in the future. It's really simple. Can we keep our customers, can we give them the feeling of being safe? And do we have the talent and skills within our organization to solve customers' problem, which is going to be more complex? So thank you very much, Farop, for a very enlightening session as usual. Even coffee conversation with you is enlightening and empowering. And so thank you very much. And yeah, I hope we'll have you again somewhere, somehow.
Thank you, Mala. Thank you, Sham. It's my pleasure to be here. And I thought, yes, let's catch up.
Yeah, when you have when I am in KL, I will make a date for coffee or whatever it is that suits
It's
your
a must.
fancy.
It's a must.
It's a date. Very good. Thank you. So my thank you for you too, for giving us your time
Always a
and sharing
pleasure.
and sharing your passion, not just your passion, but you're really in that space of user experience. I mean, it comes across so clearly that you live and breathe it. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for giving us some clarity, not just for us, but for our viewers and our listeners.
Yeah. All right. So thank you.
Alright.
As we say bye to Farop. Whoa, that was heavy. Nice. All right. So Shah, that's it's nice to be back, but I must say that the break didn't help me. I'm not able to multitask the way I used to. But anyway, I think that was a great session. Thank you, Sandeep, for
Yes.
staying with us all throughout the session. Yeah, and Ashok for coming, even though you're not on duty today. Gerald, who had joined us earlier, and Major Prabhakaran. So thank you. With that, we will see you next week.
Next week. It's
with
Malar and another guest, and
Yeah.
Malar and Ashok.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Combo.
With that, goodbye and happy. Oh, it's not voting yet. Yeah, enjoy.
Not yet. Not yet.